Coming up next on Your World.
I started playing football at a really high level. I got to the point to where I got really good. Couple big hits, tackles for loss. I have a great first game. And the second game playing against Air Force. Found ourselves in a dogfight, man. And the fourth quarter rolled around. Quarterback released the ball, a little bit over 2 minutes left in the game. Game practically over. And when he released the ball to the guy coming down my sideline, I'll never forget, I thought to myself, I said, man, I'm gonna go clean this guy up, make him fumble, this be the end of this game. And when I hit him, it felt as if every breath in my body left. Doctor rushed in from the opposite side, and he said, hey guys, get in here, we gotta rush him back to surgery, he's about to die. And I said, die?
You heard that?
Yeah, I heard him. What most people thought was a paralyzed right arm, what most people would look at and consider he can't use it physically. I can't lift it, I can't move it physically. But I can still use it every day of my life to be a blessing to other people. I can still use it, but I can't use it.
Welcome. Hello, I'm Creflo and welcome to Your World. Now, picture for a moment what you have always wanted for yourself. Imagine, if you will, the dream you've been pursuing your whole life right up until now. The dream is still out of reach, but close enough that you can almost taste it. Now, imagine your dream suddenly snatched away. Everything you've worked for, all of the sacrifices you've made, and all the plans, suddenly your dream is gone. So what do? How do you wake up and face another day? Where do you turn? Well, I want you to stay tuned today because on this edition of Your World, you're going to meet a man who overcame a life of poverty, drugs, and violence, and how he chased a dream to become a professional football player. But through a life-threatening injury, his dream and future was ripped away. Today, we're going to hear how this man turned his setbacks to a comeback and witness his current struggle to remove his family and those closest to him from the drug lifestyle he thought he left behind. Coming up next, right here on Your World.
Changing one life, time after time. Oh Lord, we do it all for you.
Through the trials I see, I'll always believe a new life starts with me. Oh, change your world today. Change is gonna come your way. Change and get an understanding. His grace will transform you.
Welcome back. Now, today we're going to meet a man whose setbacks were a setup for an amazing comeback. Inky Johnson is here to share his powerful story of tragedy and triumph. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me and welcome Inky Johnson to the show today. Thank you so much, man, for being here with us.
Thank you. It's a true honor.
As I was reading your story, I had a lot of things to come to my mind and wondering, emotionally, internally, and really looking forward to hearing how you process this. And today it's going to be a powerful day. We call it Your World because you're going to take us into your world. And we have an opportunity to see what you've gone through. And it will absolutely inspire people. But I have to tell you, I sit here today, I'm inspired. I have what they don't have yet. I have had the opportunity to read your story, and it's really a blessing. So let's start off by, tell us how you grew up, where you grew up, and the surroundings and influences that you experienced at that time as a kid growing up into this world.
First, I just want to express my gratitude, to you and the man that you are and what you stand for. I'm extremely honored and humbled to be here before you. I grew up in Atlanta, Grady Hospital to be exact. My mother had me when she was 16 years old. She took me back over to Kirkwood, Southeast Atlanta, 125 Warren Street, 2-bedroom home, 14 people. And I had 8 uncles in that house, you know, all of 8 of which were doing everything under the sun, you know, from selling drugs to robbing to, you know, doing everything you could think of. And as a youngster, man, I thought about, you know, how can I break the cycle in my family? And God had blessed me to be talented. You know, I could play basketball, I could play baseball, play football, I could run track. I used to play football in the street, me and my cousins. And a guy by the name of Trey Hirsch, you know, first white guy I ever met in my life. He signed me and some of my cousins up to play football at Tucker, and we got into organized sports, and I started to like it. And most nights after practice, I would wait on my mother. She worked at Wendy's. And so I'd be sitting there in the park after practice, and coaches would come over to me, hey, Inky, you want us to take you home? I said, nah, I'm cool. I'd rather sit here in solitude, you know, take this time, cultivate my vision for my life and what I wanted to do. And the reason I never wanted to go home is because our house, you know, used to get kicked in by the cops. You know, they would raid the home, flip over couches, you know, searching for drugs, things like that. And so anytime I got by myself in solitude to dream and to envision myself doing something positive, I took advantage of it. So I'd be sitting there in the park, and most nights my mother would show up, and she was driving an old Buick Regal at the time, hubcaps off, the car seats torn up, you know, car was all beat up, and every time she pulled up, I would hop up off the bench, sprint over to her, kiss her, hug her. I would say, Mom, if you don't mind, can you please sit back in your car, turn on your car lights? I need to do some extra drills. I got to go to the NFL so you'll never have to work another day in your life.
So you were pretty intense, and it was almost like your life statement was established in your head about what you were going to do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you would sit and dream and envision, and you would put the extra work in. And you were around, what, 10th grade around this time, 11th grade?
It started when I was young.
Wow.
You know, it started when I was 7.
Obviously, you were an amazing athlete, amazing football player. Can you remember the guys that in high school that kind of helped you with the scholarship, coaches, friends?
Oh, I had a lot of people. My coach, Darren Miles, he's now the coach at Carver, Atlanta. My dad, you know, Robert Benton, my uncle, a guy by the name of JJ, and my 8th grade math teacher and basketball coach, DeMarco Mitchell. You know, I have a lot of people, man, that helped me become the man that I am today. You know, and I feel it's my responsibility to give that back to the world what was once given to me. You know, they saw a lot of things in me when I couldn't see it in myself. And their belief propelled me at times when I didn't believe. And so I'm forever grateful to them.
So you're finishing up high school, you get recognized. How did that transition take place from high school to college? What college did you go to? How did the coach recognize that he had a superior player here? Tell us about that.
It's funny, man. So I had this dream to go to the NFL, and I got to high school. I was playing pretty well. In my sophomore year, the first game, I broke my clavicle, out for the season. Junior year, first game, get in the tackle, end up on the ground, guy grabs my ankle, twisted it, tear the ligaments in my ankle, out for the season
this in
again.
high school?
High school. Sophomore, junior year, back-to-back, first game, out for the season. So I had no film. And so the summer heading into my senior year, I was a pretty good basketball player as well. So, you know, people was in my ear like, Ink, you may want to kick this football thing. You're a pretty good basketball player. Averaged over 30 points per game as a point guard, play AAU. And so I got to the point to where I was like, man, you know what, I'm going to just go basketball. Haven't had much luck with football. And that summer, we got a new coach, Darren Miles, who came from Doug. And he called me, and I was at my aunt's house in Kirkwood. He called me, he said, hey, Inky. He said, man, I heard you're a pretty good athlete, heard you're pretty fast. I said, yeah, I got a little speed. He said, I want you to come and work out for me. I said, Coach, I'm done, man. I'm playing AAU basketball right now. He said, I'm going to go to the NBA. He said, oh, you going to the NBA, huh? He said, I don't know how many 5'9", 160-pound point guards you know in the NBA. He said, but I know a lot of 5'9" corners in the NFL. He said, so I want you to come and work out for me. I'll never forget, he set up some drills, and I did them. And afterwards, he said, son, what college do you want to go to? I said, man, I just want to go D1. He said, no, you're not hearing me. He said, son, what college do you want to go to? I said, I just want to go to college. I just want to be the first one in my family to go to college. And after that season, our video quality wasn't that well at Crem. And so he sent off some tapes, and the schools would hit back like, we can't really see him. And Tennessee hit back, and I'll never forget, they said, we can't really tell on the film what type of player he is. They said, but he's really fast. And so we're coming to look at him. And when they came down, they liked what they saw. They met with me one-on-one, and they believed in me. You know, and they offered me a scholarship. That's why until this day, I'm forever grateful and forever indebted to the University of Tennessee. They not only offered me a scholarship, they broke a generational curse in my family.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so you're in college. How'd you do? How'd you perform?
I started playing football at a really high level. I got to the point to where I got really good. You know, I knew the game inside out. You know, I had gotten to the point to where even my own coaches would think I was cheating in practice because the game had gotten that easy for me because I never went home. You know, when I got to college, I stayed there year-round. Every break they had, I never went home. I stayed in the weight room, stayed working out, and in the classroom. I was on track to graduate 3 years. You know, and I had finally made it to that point in my life to where I felt as if, man, you know, everything is coming together. And going into my junior season, my coach came in during summer camp, and I'm watching film. And I'll never forget, he said, Inky, man, I got some great news for you. And I had a clicker in my hand, and we used to watch film with a clicker. And I said, what is it? And he said, man, can you believe your projected first-round draft pick? He said, son, all you got to do is play this next season. He said, you're guaranteed probably $15, $20 million.
Okay, so you get this news. Whew. And this is the part I've been waiting to get to. This is the part that's just going to minister to a lot of people. You get this news, and what happens?
I get the news, and the first game we come out, play against Cal, get an interception, couple big hits, tackles for loss. I have a great first game. And the second game, playing against Air Force. And they were supposed to be a pushover. We were just supposed to come out, run over them, have Florida the next week. And found ourselves in a dogfight, man. And the fourth quarter rolled around. Quarterback released the ball, a little bit over 2 minutes left in the game. Game practically over. And when he released the ball to the guy coming down my sideline, I'll never forget, I thought to myself, I said, man, I'm going to go clean this guy up, make him fumble. This be the end of this game. And when I hit him, it felt as if every breath in my body left. My body went completely limp. I fell to the ground. I blacked out. Never happened to me before. And when my eyes opened, my teammates ran over to me and said, Ink, get up. I said, man, I can't move. They said, what do you mean you can't move? Get up, man, we need you. And I said, man, I can't move. I said, it's a shock going from my neck to my toes. I said, I can't feel anything. And the shock left my body, but it stayed in my right arm and hand. And I'll never forget, they brought the stretcher out, and the whole time I'm thinking, there's nothing serious, it's just a football injury. They put me on the stretcher, and I'll never forget, they got me to the ambulance, and my father, he was standing there, and I looked at him, and I said, Pops, I got him, right? I said, man, I laid it on him. And he said, yeah. He said, but Ink, I think you got the worst part of this one. And the doctor said, we're going to take you over, Ink, run some CAT scans, and we'll bring you back into the room, and we'll tell you what's up. And when they got me over to the emergency room, they took me back, they ran the test. By this time, my mother was there, and I'll never forget, they brought me back into the room, and my mom, she was standing to the right of me, and she prayed. You know, she kissed me. She said, Ink, you'll be all right. You'll be fine, man. You're a warrior. You'll be all right. And as soon as she walked out of the room, the doctor rushed in from the opposite side, and he said, hey, guys, get in here. We got to rush him back to surgery. He's about to die. And I said, die?
You heard that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard him. And I said, die. You know, and I'm conflicted because my mom, who I've been with my whole life, just told me everything's going to be okay. And usually when my mother says something, that's law. And the doctor just came in and said, I'm about to die. And I'm thinking, how can I possibly be about to die behind something that I love, behind something that brought me so much joy? And I said, what happened? He said, man, you busted up subclavian artery in your chest. You're bleeding internally. And he said, we got to rush you back and take the main vein out of your left leg and plug it into your chest in order to save your life. And the next morning I woke up from surgery. He was standing over me, he said, Inky, I got some good news and some bad news for you. He said, the good news is we saved your life. I said, thank you. He said, the bad news is you got nerve damage in your right shoulder. I said, thank you. He said, you got to go up to the Mayo Clinic. I said, okay, cool. He said, but the problem is you probably can never play the game of football again in your life. I said, man, no way. I said, I'm 8 games away, man. And I'll never forget, I was thinking to myself, I said, man, God, not now, man. I said, I've been working my whole life. Since I was 7. I never cheated. I could look you in the eyes as a man. I never cheated. I gave everything I had to it. And it get to a point, man, it still hurts.
How do you, and my question was, reading your story, how did you deal with this internally? We are aware of it being a disappointment, it being hurt, it being almost surreal. What in the world is happening here? But on the inside of you, the reality of what was going on here and how you begin to navigate through such disappointing, tragic news. What was happening? My deal is I always want to know what, I know change comes from the inside out. And I know resolutions come from the inside out. But I also know what we fail to resolve in here never reaches outside. Obviously, you did something here on the inside, the battle with fear and all the different things that were knocking on the door at that particular time. Can you take us into that internal place and kind of walk us through the thinking process of what you were going through? That this is just, it's like snatched away from you. It's like right within your grasp and gone. And anybody who's involved in assisting in that.
Mm-hmm. It was as if I was in a trance, like it wasn't real, like it was a bad dream, and I still had some appointments at the Mayo Clinic. And so there was still some hope that it wasn't all the way over. And, you know, 2 things have propelled me my whole life. You know, even from when I grew up, circumstances I came from, the obstacles I faced, I always believed that God had an incredible plan for my life. And so every obstacle I faced, I somehow navigated and got through it. And other people's belief in me has always fueled me. And so when the doctor told me that, and I was saying, God, not now, it was like I snapped out of it and said, man, God will get me through this. And I went up to the Mayo Clinic, and that's when it got real. When they came in the room and they said, listen, it's over. They said, you torn all the nerves in your brachial plexus. Your brachial plexus, nerve roots that come from your spine and control your arm and your hand. They said, you torn them at all levels. We hate to tell you, your arm and your hand, it will never be the same again. You can never play the game again. You know, and I didn't know what was next. It got tough for me by surprise, you know, because I started handling things phase by phase. And so the surgery, then the recovery, and then I hadn't been to a game. And when I went to my first game, it hit me, and I had to leave at halftime. I was like, man, I can't watch it. Like I had all these emotions, and I didn't know where they came from, and I knew it was because, man, I can't play. And I see my guys having fun, and I'm happy for them, but that was what I once did. And now I have to deal with the reality. I have to face it, like I'm seeing it, that I can't do that. And I did it my whole life. And I started trying to find my way, and I would go out just volunteering. I was like, man, how can I just take my mind off? I can't play ball. And I love kids. I love people. You know, I love hanging around people. I love Q&A. I just love real informal. And I went to share with a group of kids at this place called the Wesley House in Knoxville. It's a little place where kids go after school program. And we just sat there real informal talking. And they were asking me questions about life. And that night when I got home, I prayed. And I said, Lord, I don't know if this is what you want me to do, because I never wanted to speak. I never had no interest in it. You know, the only thing I ever wanted to do is play ball. And I said, but it felt right. And I said, if this is what you want me to do, I'll submit to it. I was like, have your way. And from that point moving forward, it was as if God just orchestrated different groups. I don't even carry business cards. You know, and I go out to places and people look at me like I'm crazy because I don't. I just have faith that God will put me in front of who he wants me to serve because I understand my situation and condition
That's powerful.
is a lot bigger than myself. And so I just started serving, you know, figuring out how can I use this, what most people thought was a paralyzed right arm, what most people would look at and consider he can't use it physically. I can't lift it, I can't move it physically. But I can still use it every day of my life to be a blessing to other people. I can still use it, but I can't use it.
Could you look into this camera?
Yes, sir.
There's somebody right now that has experienced a setback. They feel like life is over. They feel like they're not useful. They're walking in condemnation. They're walking in shame, some of them. And they're watching this program right now, and they're hearing you. What would you say to that person that may have his finger on the trigger? I know people like that. That may feel like just giving up and just yielding their life and going to the wrong way. How and what would you say to those people right now? I want you to look right into that camera, and I want you to minister to them right now.
I want you to realize that God's plan for your life is greater than the circumstances of your day. You know, and I want you to question yourself about what will you do when God says no. We know as people we can handle our blessings. It's all good. When the sun is shining, we're good. Money in the bank account, life is going well. It's great. We can handle our blessings, but can you handle your burden? What will you do when God says no? When you work for something, you prepared for something, you've done right by people, and things still don't turn out the way that you want them to turn out. And it's kind of like when the Lord was talking to Apostle Paul, when Apostle Paul was out serving, and he had the thorn in his flesh, and he was complaining about it, and the Lord basically said to him, no. Like, my grace is sufficient, my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, when you're weak, it's then that I'm strong. No. My grace is sufficient, my power is made perfect in weakness. What will you do when God says no? We know what you'll do when God says yes. His grace is sufficient. His power is made perfect in weakness.
You know, it would be very easy for us to focus on the tragic side of Inky's story. But praise God, today you've heard how God took his setback and created a comeback that is now helping people all around the world. Folks, that's what God has done. That's what he does. He takes what others call a tragedy and turns it into triumph, a story that changes our world and the world of those around us. Are you ready to turn your own setbacks into your life's greatest victory? Your life may have taken an unexpected turn, but God has a very specific purpose for you. You have right now a life of limitless potential in front of you. And all you need to see it, and all you need to do to see it, and to get a hold of what God is doing in your life, is to open yourself up to the power of his grace. And so, to help, I want you to check out this collection of resources that I'm certain will help you find God's plan for you. Watch this, and I'll be right back.
Dreams are the substance of greatness, and dreamers, well, they're the courageous few that dare to believe tomorrow will be better than yesterday. Stop and think for a second. Are you still willing to dream big? Or in some way, have you allowed your past, your failures to creep in and rob you of the faith to simply believe for a brighter day? Today, Creflo introduced you to Inky Johnson. You witnessed firsthand Inky's remarkable story of triumph in the midst of insurmountable odds. You also heard how Inky came back from a life-threatening injury and now shares his story of perseverance with others, challenging them to never give up and never stop dreaming. Inky and Creflo have teamed up to bring you one simple, life-changing message. No matter what, never stop dreaming. Regardless of your circumstances, one thing is for sure, You will never break free unless you rekindle your ability to dream again. And as always, Creflo Dollar is committed to helping you. If you're watching this broadcast, it's not by accident. It's by divine inspiration. God has designed you to win and dream like never before. Call now and fire up your faith with Creflo's all-new training designed to break you out of your rut and resurrect the dreamer in you. For your love gift of just $30, you will receive the 4-message series, Living in Multiplied Success, where Creflo takes you step by step through his material on applying biblical wisdom to achieve more success than you have ever imagined. In just a few hours, you will gain more revelation on success than most people learn in a lifetime. Next, you'll get the outstanding mini-book, The Believer's Authority. Through a series of short and thoughtful devotionals, you'll unlock the secrets to the power that is within you. Never again will circumstances stop you from having God-sized faith. Creflo will show you practical steps on how to walk by faith and not by sight. And to encourage your decision to become a dreamer again, as a bonus, Creflo will also send you the full uncut DVD of today's inspirational discussion with Inky Johnson. You only witnessed a portion of Inky's amazing testimony and Creflo's insight into the process to become more than a conqueror. They shared so much more than what was seen in today's broadcast. And when you call right now, you will get their entire conversation and hear just how Inky came back from the defeat. Call now and begin your journey to bringing back your dreams. Build the confidence you need to overcome and win. Don't let life tell you anything different than what the Word of God says about you. And remember, your tax-deductible gift today to the ministry allows Creflo and Taffy Dollar to help people in desperate situations in our local communities and in countries throughout the globe. We are in need of your help, and your sacrificial gift and ongoing partnership makes all this possible. Call the number on your screen now and get ready for your comeback. Call now.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today, and I hope this program has been a blessing to you. I believe for many watching today is the day you will start to turn your setback into a comeback. And I encourage you to call or to go online and get the collection you just heard about. When you do, you help me continue to share these inspiring stories like you heard today. Now, I want you to hear that God is able to do some great things in your life if you'll let Him. The attitude that we have seen today through Inky Johnson's testimony has not only been encouraging, but it's allowed us to see a living epistle, a living example of how to turn our setbacks into comebacks. So be sure to get in touch with me. Check my Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and you can log on to yourworldwithcreflo.com. Hey, we love you so much. Tell me about your struggles, your triumphs. Ask me questions and stay connected. God bless you. And I'll see you next time right here on Your World.
Thank you, partners and friends. Your love and financial support makes it possible to bring this message into billions of homes all across the globe.